Pravnom fakultetu. Mr. Hosein, it's my pleasure to have you here with us. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you very much for your kind invitation to be here.
Last time you were in Belgrade at the University of Law, you spoke about the Islamic eschatology and about coming of the end times. Have we gotten closer to the end times ever since that your last lecture?
Yes, we have. We have. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one God, informs us in Surah Al-Mursalat. He says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ انطَلِقُوا إِلَى ظِلٍّ ذِي ثَلَاثِ شُعَبٍ. Proceed now in the historical process to a shadow which will emerge in 3 stages. Proceed to a shadow which will emerge in 3 stages. I have interpreted this verse of the Quran to refer to Pax Britannica, and then Pax Americana, and finally to a Pax Judaica, in which Israel will seek to replace the United States as the ruling state in the world. When Pax Britannica was the world order, we had one monetary system in which the British sterling pound was the international currency, and London was the financial capital of the world, monetary capital of the world. And then came Pax Americana, in which the US dollar replaced the sterling pound, and Washington replaced London as the financial and monetary capital in the world. Since last I was here in Belgrade, very interesting things have been happening in the world of money, indicating that the age of Pax Americana is coming to a close. The curtain is coming down on Pax Americana, and the evidence for that is the fate of the US dollar. Since last I was here, the evidence is clear that the US dollar is now in its last stage of its life. And we are about to see now a change from paper money, paper currencies. Paper currencies are going to be all demonetized, including your Serbian dinar. All paper money would disappear, and the new money coming to replace it would be electronic or digital money, one form of which is bitcoins, and cryptocurrencies, which are outside the control of governments. It's not going to be long again before this change takes place in the world of money, indicating that we are now witnessing the transition from a Pax Americana to a Pax Judaica.
So are you trying to imply that the rulers of the world that you are speaking about are also behind the cryptocurrencies?
Oh yes, most certainly I'm saying that. That those who have been managing the transition from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana to what they hope will be a Pax Judaica, in which Israel will become the ruling state in the world, they had to find a way and means to bring down the US dollar. But they wanted to be a soft landing, so it does not create anarchy in the United States. And as a consequence, they've come with this digital and electronic money, which over a period of time, maybe 2 years, a year, 2 years, will allow an incremental movement away from paper money to a cashless world.
What would a cashless world mean for an ordinary individual living?
The paper money was bogus and fraudulent, and it was used for the last 100 years as an instrument of exploitation and oppression to cause a people to be ripped off of their wealth and to be reduced to poverty. After 100 years of paper money, Algeria is now miserably poor. Morocco is miserably poor. Egypt is miserably poor. Indonesia is miserably poor. Pakistan and Bangladesh are miserably poor. Shall I continue? The whole of Africa, black Africa, is miserably poor. Shall I continue? And the money has been sucked out the way a vacuum cleaner sucks dust, sucked out of the rest of the world and pumped into that part of Europe which wants to rule the world. Not all of Europe wants to rule the world. Only one part of Europe wants to rule the world. There is one part of Europe which is, I call it the Santa Claus Europe. They are Christians, but Jesus is gone. And Santa Claus has taken his place. That part of Europe, I call it the Santa Claus Europe. They're the ones who have prospered from this monetary system. They become wealthy, and they have used their wealth and used their control over the monetary system through something called inflation as a sword to ensure that governments remain in line, within their control.
You are speaking about the post-Christian Europe.
There is much to commend in your term post-Christian Europe, because it seems as though that part of Europe, which I refer to frivolously as the Santa Claus Europe, is moving in a direction that is essentially pagan. It's not Christian anymore. When a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate, if you don't open your eyes and see in which direction that Europe is moving, you're blind. You're blind, yes. And I hope that my words will reach the hearts of all those who hitherto have not been looking and seeing the reality of the world. That part of Europe, which today is wealthy beyond their wildest dreams, that part of Europe is moving in a direction that is essentially pagan.
The dollar that you're speaking about wouldn't exist without the help of the petromonarchies of the Gulf. Have the petromonarchies of the Gulf aligned themselves with the future Pax Judaica?
It was an act of great deception in 1974 when Kissinger was able to deceive King Faisal. And King Faisal behaved like a schoolboy in agreeing to the request of Kissinger that the oil should be sold for only US dollars. When Faisal agreed to that, the petrodollar was born. And the US dollar, which was in no man's land from 1971 to 1973, because they had reneged on Bretton Woods, the US dollar now got a new lease of life, and it flew higher than it ever flew before. What is now happening is that you are moving away from the petrodollar monetary system. It is being attacked, it is being challenged. And the digital electronic monetary system that is coming to replace it now is meant to facilitate the dismantling of the US dollar. Whether the Arab Gulf, Arab oil producing countries support digital money or do not support it, digital money does not require support from governments. In fact, it is issued independently of governments. It survives and it thrives independently of governments. That's what makes it so dangerous.
But usually when people talk about cryptocurrencies, their main argument is that with cryptocurrencies people will have more freedoms because their transactions will be not viewed by the governments.
The advantage of the paper money over the invisible and intangible cryptocurrencies and digital and electronic money is that with paper currencies you can still have anonymous transactions. Meaning I can make a donation to a charitable cause, and I hand over the money myself, hand to hand. And no one knows. There is no paper trail. There is no electronic trail. No one knows. It is an anonymous transaction. I can buy and I can sell cash anonymously. That will no longer be possible with cryptocurrencies. Those who have brought it into being or manufactured, and those who will continue to manufacture cryptocurrencies, you can be assured that they have the technological capacity to trace every single transaction that takes place through the internet.
So they're lying, that it's really hidden.
Well, they are speaking a partial truth when they say that the blockchain technology allows you to have privacy. It's privacy from your next door neighbor and privacy from your government, but not privacy from those who have the technological capacity to trace every single transaction.
When you're speaking about PAX Judaica, does that mean that the new capital of the world won't be New York anymore?
New York is not the capital of the world anymore. The United States of America is now in irreversible decline. The President Trump referred contemptuously to the president of Korea as a little rocket man. Korea, I don't say North and South Korea because there's only one Korea for me. The rest of Korea is a client state. Only one Korea is an independent state. Korea has responded to the United States of America time and again in a manner which challenges their status as a ruling state in the world. And the United States has been able to do nothing. Nothing. It is very plain and clear that the era of the United States as a ruling state in the world has come to an end. The United States has also made an effort, less than transparent effort, in Syria to bring about regime change. It has not succeeded in Syria. The United States is failing time and again to portray itself successfully as a ruling state in the world. And so I repeat what I have said, that the United States is now in a state of irreversible decline. Who will replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world? If the world remains as it is today, it'll have to be one of the great powers. And the great powers are the nuclear powers. But if the world does not remain as it is today, there can be a dramatic change and someone else can emerge. This is where we have eschatology to tell us that in Christian eschatology there is something called Armageddon. And in Islamic eschatology we have the same thing, but we call it the Malhama. It's a great war, greater than any war has ever been in the world, which will take the lives of most of mankind. The world will be much smaller after nuclear war. The great powers will no longer be there. And that is why they are calculating, the Zionists are calculating, that's their calculation, not mine, that Israel can emerge in a post-nuclear world as the next ruling state, and then impose upon the world a Pax Judaica in which Israel will rule the world.
Has the election of President Donald Trump made that goal possible?
In order for a Pax Judaica to replace Pax Americana, Jerusalem has to be the capital, recognized as the capital of the state of Israel. This is because the state of Israel does not want to be recognized as a secular state. It wants to be recognized as the holy state of Israel, which was established by the prophet David, Allah's blessings be upon him, and by his son Solomon, Allah's blessings be upon him. They call that state Holy Israel. I see no reason why I should not use the same term that they use, because the citizens of that state were the Israelite people. It is that holy Israel that must be restored. And when it is restored, then it can claim to be the ruling state in the world of a Pax Judaica. But holy Israel has Jerusalem as its capital, not Tel Aviv. So what Trump has done is one more step towards the realization of Pax Judaica.
We all had high hopes in Trump. We were hoping that he could change something. Did you have any hopes in Trump, and has he disappointed you?
He has not disappointed me on one very important thing. I am sure that if Hillary Clinton had won the election and become President of the United States, we would not have had this period of time with no nuclear war. We probably would have already been in war. By Trump becoming the President of the United States, we've been given a window now in which there's a postponement of nuclear war. We don't know for how long, but this is a concrete fact which must be acknowledged and for which we have to thank Trump. There are lots of other things, of course, with Trump which are a disappointment, but this one is a fact which should be acknowledged. Had it not been for Trump, we would already have been in nuclear war.
One of the main events in